Shares of Valeant Pharmaceuticals down 60% after the company said it would miss a deadline to file its annual report. CEO Mike Pearson sent a memo to employees assuring them that the company was not on the verge of bankruptcy. I guess it just kind of looks that way, huh, man?
Well, Chris, it was, 3 weeks ago, I think we were on the show, and we said, where there's smoke, there's fire. Well, it turns out there's actually napalm when it comes to Valeant Pharmaceutical. Not to be dramatic, but this is a company with a lot of problems right now. So delaying the 10K filing, companies do that a lot, but usually for the wrong reasons. It's usually there's an accounting irregularity, and it turns out they probably have several. And what that does, more worrisome, is that that's going to trigger, possibly from their bank lenders, accelerated debt payments. Now, this is a company with $30 billion in debt, 3 times the market cap right now, a shrunken market cap. And you have the CEO who's potentially leaving. You have a shifting back towards what they say is going to be organic growth versus acquisitions, which is what they're known for. There's so many red flags, I don't even know where to start with this one. And if you're an investor who's looking at this company and thinking, hey, there's got, Bill Ackman's buying this or he owns it and it's down 80% from its all-time high, it's got to be very, very aware.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think that's something that we all, I think, have agreed on for a while here now, that this is a business that is obviously in big time trouble. I find it interesting when you ask management, are you on the verge of bankruptcy? Well, we're not on the verge of bankruptcy, but we're kind of getting close to the verge. So we're going to try to
we're a couple
back
blocks
away
away
from the verge. I'm not saying these guys are on the verge of bankruptcy, but their strategy is going to have to make a massive shift here, because when you have a business that grows via acquisition and typically issues equity to do so, and now that equity has gotten hammered, no one wants those shares as currency, no one in their right mind. Again, Maddie said it, and I think we said it last week, there are more red flags than we can count here. There's no reason at all for a rational investor to jump in here unless you just really feel like flipping a coin or taking a bet. And to his point about Ackman, I'm not quite sure why he gets all that press. Maybe it's the hair or something, but he has
got good hair.
He has a number of poor investment decisions that he's made, and it sounds like this is another one.
But that's a whole other topic we get into,
sure.
And we should get into at some point, because this Bill Ackman his fund is down not only just $3 billion roughly in Valeant. His fund has lost about 50% of its value since roughly mid-2014. And it's amazing to me the investors like lemmings who continue to flock to this guy in the media or wherever else.
We talk all the time about emotions for investors, and I at least understand the emotion. This is a stock that 8 months ago was over $250 a share. Now it's in the high 20s. So from just the emotional standpoint, I can see that, well, gosh, it's not going to zero. It's got to bounce back up at least a little.
Well, and I would say, I've had that question asked on Twitter a number of times over the past week, and that very well may happen. But before you make that leap, you better identify that catalyst that's going to turn this around. Don't think it's just going to automatically turn around because it used to be there. I mean, there are good investors that really did a lot of work on this business over the past year, felt like it was a good investment, that have really gotten burned here. So there was something that was more or less under the radar there that they weren't able to find. So it's not to say that if you called Valeant as being a good investment and therefore it's not, so you're a bad investor. That's not how that works. But you really do have to make sure that you understand it just doesn't automatically bounce back because it was once there before.
Yeah, and Jason, I think the thing that was under the radar that the rest of the investors were missing was the underlying business itself.
Sure.
The whole growth by acquisition, that's great, but we're in the era of personalized medicine, and there's a lot of other competitors out there developing core competencies that are actually investing very heavily in R&D. We haven't seen that from Valeant. I think they're behind the curve on this one.
And let me just say this, to be fair, we're not just picking on Bill Ackman here. I think the bigger point here is to not look at any of these investors that get all of these headlines in the financial media and just make the assumption that, that investor's doing it, therefore I should follow in their footsteps. Always make sure you do your own work and come to your own conclusions, because nobody's batting 1,000 out there.